Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. I am Kyle Shaw, aka the Canadian Goose, and you are tuning in to Monday Night Shaw right here on Love Wrestling. On today's show, we continue with the totally Arctic wrestling theme that we've had going for the last 4 weeks now, or 4 episodes, excuse me. And I have actually the TAW, that's Totally Arctic Wrestling Cruiser Champion on the show tonight, Devin Shipwreck. Boom, shakalaka. Devin, how are you doing, buddy?
Good evening, Bloomy. Thank you for having me.
Did you say you're feeling gloomy?
No, I said Vloomy, which is Involactin for good evening, good afternoon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was lost on me. That's interesting. I didn't know that they had their own like language up there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not surprising, I suppose, but it never even occurred to me.
Yeah. So we live in Inuvik, right, in the Beaufort region, Beaufort Delta region. So there's Involactin and Gwich'in that's spoken here. The Inuvialuit people speak Involactin, and the Gwich'in people speak Dene Gwich'in. So you can say Drin Gwinzi for good afternoon, or Bloomy for good afternoon in Involactin, and Drin Gwinzi for Gwich'in. So those are the traditional peoples from this region. So we often greet each other in the traditional greetings. Yeah.
Solid. Have you learned any of the traditional wrestling language?
I know a little bit of like greetings and how to introduce myself. Noller Bear is like the king of the wrestling here as far as the terms and stuff goes. So you probably know more than me with those words. So I got to pick some more of those up for sure.
Kayfabe and gimmick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like literally everything you ever refer to can be referred to as, oh yeah, give me the gimmick over there. Pass me the gimmick. I'll have some of the gimmick, Like, yeah. So how long have you been wrestling for?
So I've only been wrestling here with Totally Arctic Wrestling since August. So I was just looking at the calendar before the podcast here, and I'm 196 days now with this championship belt. This is the Cruiser Championship with Totally Arctic Wrestling. And so I've had that since August, and now we're into March. So I'm trying my best to hang on to this title.
Right on, buddy. So how many matches have you had overall then?
So I've only had like 3 matches so far. But I have to defend the championship here in March 2 more times. So I'll have 5 matches by the end of this month. I've certainly been involved in a lot of other matches as the senior official with Totally Arctic Wrestling. But I went from referee to wrestler back in August when Dez insulted me in front of a group there at one of our events called Block Party. And I kind of just had enough. And so I got myself involved in the wrestling side of things once Dez kind of pushed me over the edge a little bit there. So now I'm on the active roster, and I was able, with a little help from Blue Wilder, was able to capture this championship belt. So
solid, buddy. Solid. That's awesome. I just interviewed Dez like a week ago or so. He seemed like he didn't insult me or anything, but he just knows what's good for him.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty happy. I want to learn about like when you came on as a referee and stuff, did you have aspirations to get in the ring and wrestle?
Yeah, I've been a wrestling fan my entire life. So I'm 45. I was a huge wrestling fan in the 80s and the 90s, watching WWF and WCW, and then eventually ECW. So a lot of wrestlers that I admired growing up, and always had aspirations of maybe getting in the ring, but never really happened. And then in 2018, I moved to Inuvik, and within a year, this indie company kind of came out of nowhere. So it was really interesting, very serendipitous for me, because my high school principal actually who's a hero of mine. He was a football player, math teacher, and principal that I really admired. When he retired from my little high school in Canso, Nova Scotia, where I'm originally from, he actually moved to Inuvik, Northwest Territories. So back in 1997, when I graduated high school, he actually moved here to Inuvik. And so in the summers, I would see him, and he would always speak so highly of the people in Inuvik and the region, and always spoke so highly of going out on the land here in the schools. So I was always interested in Inuvik. And so sure enough, in 2018, a job came open here, and I jumped on the opportunity to move here. And then little would I know, within a year, a wrestling company would come out of nowhere and kind of pop up in this little Arctic town. And so I couldn't help but get involved. I went to one event as a fan, and I sat front row. I absolutely loved it, and I spoke with Des afterwards in blue, and said, "Can I help out?" And so they needed a referee, so I said, "Sure, I know the rules. I've been watching wrestling my whole life." So I got involved as an official for a number of years, and like I said, recently I got a chance to wrestle finally back in August, and so I've been having a few matches since. But yeah, huge fan, and Inuvuk's such a wonderful place to live and work, and what an amazing opportunity for an indie wrestling company to pop up in the Arctic. So I couldn't help myself but get involved. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like when I heard about you guys having a federation up there, it kind of blew my mind because it was like I could be completely ignorant here, but my impression is that these are like some pretty isolated places. Like it's hard to get to Inuvik, and
Yes.
like I would suspect it's even harder to ship an actual like wrestling ring there and
Yeah.
convince people to come all the way there to actually wrestle in front of people that live there. Like it's a long ways to go. So I'm actually really impressed that you guys just took it on yourselves and was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this. Like that's
Yeah.
and then like you say, your story of like just you showed up one day and you were like, hey, can I help out? Like that's very similar to how I broke into wrestling as well. Like
Yeah.
it just like I started going as a fan. I mean, I lived in Victoria, BC, which at the time, like, it wasn't like a wrestling hotbed or anything, but it was a major metropolitan like city and stuff. So like it's not an isolated place either, but just wasn't a lot of wrestling going on there. And then when I first found out about indie wrestling, I was basically just was like, hey, can I help out? Is there anything I can do? And that's how I kind of broke in almost. And then like so I stuck around and I did like ring announcing and
Yes.
just all kinds of stuff like that. And then eventually like an opportunity came up to train and start having matches, and I have not looked back since. I mean, I've spent some time on the shelf last year because I injured my ACL and I had to have ACL repair surgery done on me, and they told me I couldn't wrestle for a year.
Oh
So while
no.
that was going on, I went back to ring announcing, which
Right.
a lot of the wrestlers around here they tell me that I'm like a really really good ring announcer. So I mean I always
There you
like to
go.
do it every once in a while, but
Yeah.
it's definitely like my love is wrestling because like I mean you understand from the refereeing point of view, like
Yeah.
nobody comes to these shows to watch the referees and
No.
the ring announcers,
No, they like when we
yeah
take bumps for sure, but they're not here to watch me, do the submission hands or count to three. They're there to see the talent, right, and the excitement.
yeah.
So they like when we get bumped. That's about it. Yeah, yeah,
Wait, can you tell me like what has been involved in like your training? Have you just been like training with Des and Noller Bear and stuff
yeah,
since you started
yeah.
actually competing?
Yeah, Dez and Nolar Bear and Blue are all incredibly helpful. When we train, not so helpful when we actually have a match, but definitely training wise, they're very helpful. Especially Dez, he's a tough one in the ring. But yeah, and then the wrestlers that have come up to shows as well will certainly show us things before and after the show. So Cheeseburger's been up a couple of times. World famous CB, he's been phenomenal. He's been so great to us and showing us things and training us both with the mic and of course in the ring, right? And
Yeah, the
Justin
microphone stuff
Sider
is
too from
important.
BC was up recently. Yeah, the mic work too. We all needed some work and learning that skill as well. So they've been both really helpful. Justin Sider from BC, world famous CB, and then originally Marty Sugar too from British
Yeah,
Columbia up as well.
that's
So
kind of
all of
how I
them,
got the.
yeah,
That's how I've kind of came across you guys, was because I've wrestled for Marty Sugar in BC a few
yeah,
times, and he's wrestled on some Alberta shows that I was on out here as well. And like that's how I came. Like when I met Noller Bear, he was on some shows for Marty in BC and stuff.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
just thought it was like super interesting that y'all have a like your own federation going up there, way up in the Arctic.
yeah.
And whatnot. So what do you think has been the most challenging aspect of transitioning from refereeing into wrestling?
Oh, transitioning from ref to wrestler, very, very difficult for sure. Certainly a lot rougher. I'm a lot more sore after being in the ring. As a referee, you really got the best seat in the house, really. So unless you get bumped with a chair shot or someone gives you a shove or something, usually you're all right. So
they hit the refs with chairs up there.
Occasionally, you might get one if there's a no DQ match or something. And you're not careful, so you have to watch yourself. It is pro wrestling. It's not tiddlywinks, right? So you got to watch yourself in the ring, even as the official. So yeah, I've been bumped before. I've gotten pulled in between two wrestlers, for example, Marty Sugar and Blue. I got sandwiched by them at one of our tree line tournaments a while back at the outside facility that we had a show in. It was a great show, but yeah, they bumped me pretty hard there where I rolled right out of the ring. And luckily my co-referee, Steve Dagger, big friend of mine, came into the rescue and was able to continue the match. But yeah, I got bumped pretty bad in that one where I couldn't finish the match. First time that ever happened to me. So you can definitely get bumped as a ref. But to answer your question, yeah, the transition's a lot harder as an actual, wrestler talent where you're taking a lot of bumps. And so you can be pretty sore if you're going off the top ropes or you get hit in a certain spot. So I had a pretty nasty bruise when I wrestled Dez in Inuvik a few months ago afterwards. And I was a little sore in the ribs when I did a frog splash off the top ropes as well to capture the cruise championship. So you definitely feel it the next day for sure.
Yeah, no. And I mean, you mentioned too that you're 45 and I just turned 40 and I do feel matches afterwards now. Like there's like, I never was really like an active wrestler when I was like 20 or whatever. I'd probably be a lot better at it by now if I had been, but, there's definitely like you did a lot of like bumps and bruises and stuff, but like my thing about that is there's a difference between being injured and being hurt,
Yes,
like
definitely.
every single match you get hurt. Like if you don't, then you're probably not doing it right. It's just injury that you want to avoid. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a nice feeling. You get a lot of adrenaline after a match too. And you'd feel so like, putting on a good show is such a nice feeling. That energy you get from a live crowd, it's hard to describe unless you're a part of it. Right. So that's what I've always loved as a fan. And then to be in the ring too, it's just been great. So yeah, it's worth it to be a little sore the next day, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And like, especially like when you're only like 3 matches in, like you still have to be like super nervous all the time, eh? When you're about to hit the ring.
Oh, definitely. I get really nervous, and a nice feeling of excitement too. And I think that's kind of just being alive, right? Doing something you love. If you're nervous, it means you really care about it, right? So I always look at nerves as a good sign and try not to let it slow me down too much, whether it's public speaking or refereeing or wrestling in front of a crowd, you name it. Like it's a good feeling, even if you're a little bit nervous, because it means you get the blood flowing and you're alive, right? So I always try to look at it as a good thing. Yeah, and try to channel that energy a bit, So
yeah. Do you have that thing where like I kind of have this thing where I'm going to be like really, really nervous right until like I walk out the curtain, and then it's like, oh, now I'm the Canadian Goose, and I like my job is to go out there and act like an ass kicker or a fighter of some sort, and so like you walk out and then all your nerves go from being like, oh gosh, I hope I don't get hurt, or I hope this guy doesn't beat me up, but to just like,
for sure,
hey, honk, 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 crowd work and getting the people going. And then at that point, it's like, okay, well, if the guy does beat me up, well, I've had my ass kicked before. It ain't that bad. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of almost take on that character, kind of live vicariously through your character a little bit, right? So you kind of tell yourself, Devin Shipwreck can get through this. Devin Roberts, the real person, will be pretty sore tomorrow, I'm sure. But Devin Shipwreck in the moment definitely takes it all in for sure.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how like you've developed the Devin Shipwreck character? It's an interesting name and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if you take a look at me, I'm not the biggest or the strongest wrestler, right? So, like I mentioned, I was a huge wrestling fan in the 80s and 90s, and I loved ECW. So Mikey Whipwreck was definitely an inspiration of mine. He was that character that just kept getting back up, no matter how many times they knocked him down, someone like Stone Cold back in the day, Steve Austin was in ECW, just beating him up, throwing him all around, and Mikey would just keep getting back up. So when I decided to become a wrestler, I kind of mimicked myself a little bit after that character. And so I came up with the name Devin Shipwreck because, like I said, I'm originally from Eastern Canada, Nova Scotia, a little fishing village named Canso. And so I thought that idea of the East Coast character being Devin Shipwreck and then Mikey Whipwreck was kind of a nice way of putting it together. So I try to be an inspiration to the kids to keep getting back up. If you look at someone like Dez, he's a lot bigger and stronger than me. He's got more experience. But if you look at our last match, I just kept getting back up, and he couldn't keep me down. So eventually I found my spot and was able to get the 1, 2, 3. So that's kind of where the name comes from. It's Devin Shipwreck being from Eastern Canada originally, and then Mikey Whipwreck kind of being my inspiration from ECW.
Nice. Have you modeled your wrestling style around a Mikey Whipwreck style of wrestling? Like, do you throw whippersnappers and that kind of stuff?
A little bit. I don't have a ton of offense just yet because I'm still kind of learning as I go and developing. So I have a pretty sweet bulldog off the top rope. That's how I beat Dez last time. So I call that the Riptide. And then I have a pretty sweet frog splash that I call the tidal wave as well. So and I've got a new move that I'm not going to give away just yet because we've got another match coming up here at the end of March. But I'm working on a new move that I plan to use very, very soon towards the end of this month. Double
rotation Canadian Destroyer to the floor.
Yeah, who knows, right? Like I said, I'm practicing right now, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I got a couple new moves I'm working on that hopefully will be ready for the 23rd of March for sure. Yeah,
solid. That I mean, it's always exciting when you learn a new move and stuff. I learned one last week from because I trained with Michael Richard Blaze from Clandestine, and he taught me how to do this crazy. You come up and then the other guy grabs you under the armpit like this, and you put your arm on their arm, and then you step up onto the middle rope, and then you jump off and you Hurricane Rana them.
Nice.
And it's not the sort of thing that when you look at me, you would think, oh, that guy's probably going to do a springboard Hurricane Rana today. No, you're like, oh, you might do a couple of punches and a kick and a tackle. And, I busted that one out on Friday, and it was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A good time. I mean, and I've learned since Friday that maybe I need to describe it in a little bit more detail because I did it and I got up there and then I was like, oh wow, he's really far away because when I was learning it from MRB, he was right next to me, so all I basically had to do was just shift my leg over and put it on his shoulder.
Wow.
And this other guy was significantly further away, and I went to do that and I was like, oh no, my ankle is on his shoulder, that's not gonna work. And then I pulled my leg back, and then I was like, fuck it. I just jumped and went for it. Right
on. You made it work. Right.
But if it that stuff, I think is all super exciting. What kind of stuff do you guys work on the most while you're at training? Do you do lots of cardio? Do you do lots of do you practice a lot of moves? Do you do lots of chain wrestling? Well, chain wrestling is one of my favorite things to practice in training.
It's really interesting. So we practiced yesterday, and the thing with us is, we are, like I said, totally Arctic. So our training facility is not fully heated right now. So we train in spurts for one, and then we run into our cars and our Jeeps and warm up, and then talk about kind of debrief what happened and kind of work through matches and talk about what we want to do. So we are wrestling right now in minus 20, minus 30 conditions at times. It can be quite cold in our facility that we're training in. So that limits what we can do at times, but we're working on it. So in the summer months, we do a little bit more, but right now we're still training. But we don't have a heated facility yet. So it's the name Totally Arctic is legit. It's not just a catchphrase or not happen to be just the geography. It is the conditions that we are training in as well. It's very Arctic.
I'm pretty sure I did see a video of Noller Bear, and he was wearing full on winter jacket and everything, and he was out there doing rolls in the ring. And then he'd come up and you'd see the breath come out of his mouth, and I was like, wow, that takes like some super dedication, like
Yeah.
absolutely. Like
Yeah.
we had a cold spell here because I live in Edmonton, and so we had a cold spell here just a little while ago where it got down to like -30 and stuff. And
Wow. That's cold.
I walked to training one of the days, one or two of those days, but it was enough for me to be like, okay, yeah, no, it's just too cold to do this. Like
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like I am all for like going to training and walking there and getting that extra exercise, but I was like, it's this cold, I'm gonna take the bus or get a ride,
Yeah.
because like there's a lot of things that can make wrestling challenging, and one of those things is you know pneumonia, hypothermia, the flu, all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to wrestle when you have you're dying from the horrible cold.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I can't even imagine like actually like because like the facility we do have heat in the facility, right? So like
Yeah.
it's comfortable once you're inside and wrestling. It's just when you're outside waiting for somebody to show up so they can open the door, or you're
Yeah.
walking there, then it can be pretty gnarly. But I can't imagine if once I did get there, it was like, okay, now we're gonna do a bunch of like rolls and get all sweaty
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
It's different.
because
It's very
like
different.
yeah,
Very
that
cold.
it's great like once you do all the rolls and you're sweating and you're working hard and stuff, but then once you go to leave or whatever and you're cooling down, well now you're soaking wet because you're covered in
Yeah.
sweat.
It's
And
great.
like I legit came home and there was I was wearing a scarf over my face, and like the scarf was like crusty from just how cold it was. And like I say, this is just Edmonton. It's not even that far
Yeah.
north.
Yeah,
I can't
Edmonton's still
imagine.
pretty cold though. Edmonton gets cold for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We're hoping eventually to get like an inside facility, but right now we're very thankful. Northwind has been an incredible sponsor, and they've given us a space to use a number of times. So we've had matches in the hangar initially. You'll see a number of YouTube videos on the TAW YouTube channel that are wrestling in a hangar, and so that's donated to us by Northwind. They've been such a great sponsor, and so now we have a different facility still brought to us by Northwind, and it's like I said, not heated yet, but it has a possibility of heating it. So we're just looking at eventually doing some upgrades and maybe getting a heated facility. But in the meantime, we're still training. Like I said, we go to the gym as well. There's a great Midnight Sun Complex facility here in Inuvik that we train in as well. It's open 24 hours, so that's great for lifting weights and cardio and things like that. But when we want to get in the ring and do some rolls or some lockups, chain wrestling, you name it, we're a little cold this time of year. So like I said, we got 2 shows coming up. We got a show March 23rd in Aklavik. It's our first show in the hamlet of Aklavik. I'm really excited about that. I'm going to defend the Cruise Championship against Des again. So it's a rematch. And then if I'm able to hang on to that championship, I'll try and defend it again the next evening as well on the 24th back in Inuvik in our town right here. So pretty excited about both shows, but in the meantime, we got to train in the cold to make it happen. So that's what we're doing. We are totally Arctic in name and in reality too. So it's a lot of fun, but it's a great experience, and a little bit of cold or a little bit of being sore is totally worth it when we put on these great shows and the crowds come out. We've been in Tuktoyaktuk as well on the Arctic Ocean, and we've had 2 shows there that were really fun. A number of shows here in Inuvik, a number of Skodens, and then just actual like events as well. And it's been super fun. Whether I'm in there as a referee or now as a wrestler, it's just it's super fun. I'm totally grateful to Des and to Blue and to Nolder Bear for letting me be a part of it. It's really all about them. They're incredible. And very grateful to some of the mentors I mentioned as well, like a Marty Sugar, Justin Sider, Cheeseburger, who's been up, and even Todd Quality's been up, and he's coming up again. So
Oh,
we've been
okay.
really
Yeah,
fortunate too with some of
he's
those
solid.
wrestlers
I
too.
like Todd's
Yeah,
quality.
yeah. Yeah, so we've it's been really interesting. It's nothing I would have ever imagined. Like I said back in 2018 when I moved here, this little quiet community in the Arctic. I came up for a job in education, and to think that we also get to wrestle on the evenings and weekends here. If you had told me that back in 2017 or something, I would have thought that was bizarre, just a joke, right? And here we are living it. So it's pretty incredible, and yeah, we really enjoy putting on the shows for the community. So yeah, we're going to hit to Aklavik in the 23rd of March, and then the 24th we're back in Inuvik, which we're pretty excited about.
Solid. I hope this airs before then, because I've got 3 I got the interview with Des,
Yeah.
the
Nice.
interview with Marty, and then the
Yeah.
interview with you going up, and they air every 2
Cool.
weeks. So I don't know if
Right
that
on.
one, I don't know if it'll air before
Oh yeah,
that
no
or
worries.
whatnot, but we'll absolutely try and plug those for you so that you guys
Thank
can
you. Mm-hmm.
hopefully make some. I don't know if there's any Arctic listeners to Monday Night Shaw or viewers or
Well, there might
people
be
that.
after this, right? After you
Yeah,
have a few of
I
us
hope
on, we'll
so.
promote it.
Yeah,
We'll promote it for sure. We're very grateful to you, Kyle, for having us. So,
I am.
yeah.
I'm very grateful for you guys to come and chat with me. Like I just think the whole thing is super cool, right? Like
Yeah.
I've ridden to shows with Kat Von Hees before, and she's
Yes.
raved about it as well. And then I saw
Yes.
all the pictures with Ava Lawless and stuff, and
Yes.
it
Yes.
just
Both of them
makes me
too. Yeah.
like,
They were up in
yeah.
Tuck. They were awesome. They did the first ever full women's match. I got to referee that. That was in Tuktoyaktuk, right on the Arctic Ocean. Incredible match. One of the best matches I've ever seen live, and I got to be the ref, so it was super cool. The Hamlet was so into it, and it was a great match. It was a banger. It was a long one. It was a good one. We'd like to see more women get involved with the company eventually too. So really great to have those two up as ambassadors for women's wrestling. Absolutely.
So far in your like you said, you've had 3 official matches. So have they all been against Des?
Yeah. So actually, what happened was Dez had a different belt. This one I actually was able to get afterwards, and he had a stipulation that only anybody that was in TAW or that came to our events that could wrestle for the cruise championship, as he called it, had to have been on the Chris Jericho cruise, on that vacation cruise that Chris Jericho does. And so I happened to be on that cruise last year. And so Blue challenged him initially for the belt, but Blue hasn't been on the cruise, so he wasn't able to wrestle him. So I stepped up after Dez had kind of shoved me a few times and kind of insulted me a little bit and said, "Hey, Dez, I was on that cruise with you." And so Blue helped me out a little bit, but I hit him with my frog splash, like I said, the tidal wave, and was able to capture the belt kind of in an impromptu challenge match there that caught Dez off guard initially. So that's how I got the cruise championship initially. He called it the kind of Chris Jericho cruise belt. And so when I won it, I opened it up to anyone. So now there's no stipulations at all. It's just another championship belt in our company, and it's called the Cruiser Championship, sort of an homage to obviously the cruiser division, right? So
Well, I'll come and wrestle you for it, and then we'll call it the Gooserweight Championship.
There you go. So it's open to any and all challengers. Like I said, I'm here to defend it as much as I can, and open to anybody with no silly stipulations about being on a boat cruise. So that was kind of Dez's thing. So I changed that, and so now it's been open to anybody. So I defended it against Dez in Inuvik, and I was bruised and beaten, but I got through it. And then I was actually challenged for the championship again in Tuktoyaktuk that same night with that women's match against an incredible wrestler, Justin Sider. And I was able to squeak it out. It was very close, and I got lucky there, to be honest with you. I think Justin's clearly the better wrestler, but that day I was able to sort of sneak a move in there and pick my spot. So I'm 3-0 so far as a cruiser champion, and I hope to be 5-0 by the end of March here. So we'll see. But so far so good. And like I said, no silly stipulations for this belt. It's legit. So
Right
anyone
on,
that
buddy.
wants to come up and wrestle us, come on up.
Solid. I mean, that's very cool. I mean, don't feel like, oh, Justin Sider is like way better than you. He's just more experienced, you know.
Yes.
And like the more matches you have, the better you'll get, and like the more you train, the better you'll get, right? Like
Yeah.
that gotta stay sharp, right? Like there's a lot of people that are like. Like, oh, okay, they went to the wrestling school and they did the 3 months and they learned how to wrestle and now they're on shows, and that's the only experience they ever get is when they're wrestling on shows. And it's, I don't know, my personal opinion, you need to like stay sharp, like the Oilers and the Calgary Flames and the Toronto Maple Leafs and all the other professional sports teams. They all have practice,
for sure.
You gotta go and work on your craft so that you can not only stay sharp, but get better.
Yep. Yeah, no, I keep training. I've been training for months now, and I feel a lot better. Feel a lot more confident going into these matches here in the 23rd and 24th. And very grateful. Some of the trainers, someone like Justin, actually, just despite having a match with him, he also showed me some things before and after the matches. So he was showing me some things that I didn't even know I could do. So sometimes you have
Oh yeah.
limitations in your mind and you don't think you can do something. He was showing me how to jump over the top rope. I didn't even know I could do that with, flat footed, 2 feet, kind of flip over the rope, stuff I had never imagined doing before. So it just shows you, if you train and know the techniques and have, a little bit of guidance, you can learn a lot, right? So I've learned a lot in the last, 196 days it's been as cruiser champion, and I hope to continue my reign a lot longer. So I'm going to keep learning and keep pushing myself, and I just keep getting up. They knock me down, and I just keep getting up as Devin Shipwreck, just like Mikey Whipwreck would do. So
Yeah,
that's what I do.
like,
yeah.
One of the things that like confidence is a huge thing for professional wrestling, and one of my trainers who trained me for a while, heavy metal, Harlan Abbott, he told me once, he's like, confidence is free. So
Yeah,
ever
totally.
since
Yeah.
then, it's like, like worst case scenario, I flub this up and die. Well,
Yeah.
I've lived a long life, so just don't mess it up, and have fun and be confident in your abilities and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I say, like the Rana that I was learning last week and whatnot, and like that was one of those things where I was watching it, I was like terrified and whatnot, but like even MRB was like, "Hey Goose, do you want to learn this?" And I was like,
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
"You know what? Yeah, I
Yeah.
do want to learn this."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and
Yeah.
then like literally like he was like, "Oh, okay, well I have 5 minutes. If you don't get it in the next 5 minutes, we'll have to work on it next time." And I got it in the 5 minutes, and then I was like, "Okay," like I felt confident enough that when I wrestled on Friday, I busted the move out during the match. So it
Mhm.
was, yeah,
It's great. Yeah.
yeah. I like anytime you can overcome like your own like fears, like
Yeah.
that's a huge thing, I think. And I
Yeah.
think that the fans, they can tell that too. Like I think that anytime the fans can tell how hard you're working, or
hmm
how much one of the things Spencer Love says is like he points it out to me. He's like, like you have a lot of like give a shit. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
actually like you
Stick
care
with
about
it.
this
Yeah.
and you want to do well,
You
and
want
like
it. Yeah.
that goes a long way.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
keep at it.
Mindset's huge. Yeah. Mindset's huge, right? You have to have the psychology of you got to be into it with a positive mind, growth mindset, believe in yourself. And so that's the message of Devin Shipwreck with the kids and the fans, is just to keep believing in yourself, keep getting up, and to have the right mindset, and just to keep pushing forward. Right.
Mhm.
So,
And it
you
always
know,
is helpful to have like super supportive people there that are also confident in you, like there's sometimes we have like other wrestlers who don't have as much experience, and they're not like super confident in their stuff, but like you just like, okay, come on, give me a hip toss or
yeah.
whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, sometimes they're like, okay, come on in, one,
Yeah.
two, three, let's go. And then you just, the next time you have to just be like, okay, give me a hip toss. And they're like, okay, one, two, no
Yeah.
counting. Let's just go.
Let's
And
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we do it, and it's a lot of fun. I have you had any discussions or opportunities to wrestle outside of TAW yet?
Not yet. No,
Is that
not yet.
something you're wanting to
Yeah.
do?
That's something's definitely on my mind. Nolar Bear and Dez in particular have been great ambassadors for us outside of the region. I did have the opportunity when I went on that boat cruise, the Chris Jericho boat cruise last year. I had an opportunity to see Dez actually wrestle outside of the region. So he wrestled down in Florida and represented TAW there. And then this year, Nolar Bear wrestled with the same company, BRCW. So they both have been great ambassadors outside of our region out of Totally Arctic Wrestling, and they've represented our company as well. So I did get a chance to travel with Nolar Bear and Dez down to Florida. So that was a great experience, and I got to kind of see how a different company behind the scenes is run, and the things that they do. So that was really exciting. And
Did they have you
Cheeseburger, yeah, go ahead.
referee any? Did they have you referee any of the matches
No,
on those
no, they
shows?
did. They not at that show, but they did ask if I was interested in coming back. So there might be an opportunity there to referee at some point too. But yeah, Cheeseburger was there, who's is a friend of ours, and he's been a great mentor too. So Dez and Cheeseburger had a match there last year in Florida, and that was really great to see. And then Nolar Bear actually wrestled Gangrel this year
Oh, cool.
in Florida. Yeah, from the WWE, WWF days. You think of Edge and Christian, where they got their start with Gangrel, right? So that was pretty cool to know that Nola Bear got to wrestle him. So they're really starting to branch out more, and that's really great to see. And Nola Bear has wrestled in British Columbia as well. So I do think you'll see the TAW brand around Canada and the United States a bit more into 2024, 2025, because they've already started to branch out a bit. So yeah, hopefully the Devin Shipwreck lifestyle will start sailing outside of the region a little bit too there eventually. So we'll see. No bookings yet, but if I can get through the next 2 matches here in our region and still hang on to this belt, then I'll see about bookings outside of the region here eventually. Yes, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Nola Bear's come down for some Big West stuff, and he's had opportunities in RCW, Real Canadian Wrestling. That's where I primarily wrestle.
Yeah,
And whatnot. And I'm sure that as long as you're putting in the work, those companies will give you an opportunity. I'm sure
that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd love to go down to Edmonton or Calgary and through Alberta as well, and that would be a lot of fun. Obviously, Alberta has such a rich history in wrestling, right? So to be a small part of that would be really incredible.
There's like a deep talent pool here, and like I say, sometimes it can be challenging to get on to like some shows, but like I say, like people will notice if you're positive and you're like game for whatever. Like sometimes you'll get tested and they'll fucking smash you.
Yeah, for sure.
But if as long as, like you say, you get up and you're like, thank you, sir, may I have another?
May I have another? Yeah. Let's keep going. Let's go. Yeah.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But the tenacity goes a long way as well. Like
absolutely.
There's all kind, and like I'm really stoked. Actually, I just found out I'm going to be wrestling later on this month in Manitoba.
Right on. Amazing.
I'm really stoked for that too. Because I've gone to Manitoba like once before, and I always enjoy it, and I like to be in a locker room with a bunch of new guys, and kind of just
experience.
Go over, like, you learn new stuff from people, and just all that kind of stuff, and like maybe you can even like show somebody something cool that they didn't know, or I did one show with some of the folks from Manitoba, but we did this show in Saskatchewan, and the one guy was like, "Oh, I bet you can't get this whole place honking tonight." And I was like 2 minutes into my entrance, and I was like, "Oh, that guy owes me a beer," because like,
there you go.
Yeah, the whole place was going nuts. It was awesome.
Yeah. Manitoba too, right? You think of like Chris Jericho. Obviously, we were just talking about Kenny Omega. Like, so many greats have come out of Manitoba to Winnipeg area, and then Dez actually wrestled in northern Manitoba as well in that Death Tour. So there's a documentary coming out with Dez featured in that, wrestling there as well. So he's certainly branched out in Manitoba, another great hotspot for wrestling in Canada, right? Both Manitoba and Alberta for sure, and BC, right? So absolutely, and nice to see the TAW brand kind of branch out to some of those places. And I'll definitely have to check out your matches as well if you're going to wrestle in Manitoba. I'd love to see that for sure.
Yeah, I'm not on the Death Tour, but it is one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm sure that the travel is very rigorous and not a very good time, but I'm pretty sure that the shows would be so fun. I actually would like to be on one of those Death Tours. I'm like, like I say, I hear things like, okay, the travel is really, really brutal. The ring is not in a state of the ring is kind of busted and broken.
Of course,
but I don't know. I just like those sort of things. It's just extra challenge, you know what I mean? Like,
it's good to build your character, good experience, great way to learn the business. You think of some of the big names like Edge and obviously Chris Jericho all did that tour as well, right? So I was really excited to see Dez go and do that. And Dez being from the Arctic, he knows all about long drives and remote communities. So he represented as well on that tour. So I highly recommend it. It's a great experience, and those communities that up there really appreciate the wrestlers coming and visiting them. So it was great to see. I'm excited to see the full documentary when it comes out for sure.
Yeah, I would like to see it too. I watched another one that they did a few years back. And like that's what the first time when I watched that, I was like, oh, I think I'd really like to do one of these. I think it would. I'm not so sure I'd like to do it like every year, but I probably would like to do it at least once, just to say, yeah, I have done it, and you know, you know,
Yeah, absolutely. Good experience, right? Yeah.
yeah.
And you learn a lot from the other wrestlers for sure and the promoter for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's all about experience, right? Getting reps. Yeah.
I know so many people that have done them. Like, I know Bobby and Kat have done them, and
Yeah.
lots of the guys that have come from MPW. Dalton Rogue's done it. KB6 has done it. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of the current MPW wrestlers are like Massive Damage has been involved in it for
Right.
years. I don't know Massive Damage very well at all, but I'm aware of who he is and stuff. And whatnot. So like yeah, it's one of those things where I need to figure out how I can put my name in the hat for getting on one of those, because
Yeah.
I want to do one before I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. You should talk to Des about it for sure. He's already done it for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Talk to me about the Chris Jericho cruise. How was that?
That was a very interesting experience. It was a lot of fun, actually. Yeah. So I didn't go this year, but the year before I went, and Nolar Bear went, and Des went. It was super cool. There was a lot to do. There was like lots of bands playing. So there was like rock music. There was like a casino if you want to stay up late. If you got up early, which I like to do, I'm kind of a morning person. There was still activities and things to do. So bless you. Yeah, I did. I played bingo at like 8 a.m. with Vicky
With Chris
Guerrero.
Jericho.
Well, with Vicky Guerrero hosted it, so it was super
Oh,
cool. There was
okay.
like a bunch of prizes. Yeah, it was on the Jericho cruise though. Yeah, so like there's all these different activities. There was sports. There was rock music. Obviously, lots of wrestling. Right, so a ton of wrestlers. And the nice thing is all the wrestlers were like mingling with the fans. They're really like friendly, so you could go up and speak to people and get photos, things like that. They had scheduled kind of times where you could take pictures, but generally speaking, you kind of walk around, you bump into somebody, and if you're friendly, strike up a conversation. Next thing you know, you're taking a selfie with like, Mickey James or Mark Henry, you name it. Like big names in wrestling were just kind of all there and super friendly to us fans. So I really enjoyed it. It was, it went by super fast. It's a few days. And got to meet a lot of wrestlers I really admire. I listen to Busted Open a lot, so the Busted Open crew was there, including, like I mentioned, Mark Henry and Mickey James were two big names I wanted to meet. So that was really cool, and the wrestling was awesome. It was a lot of fun to watch the matches and be up close, and the venue was just really neat. Like the cruise ship itself was just really cool. And then you
Was
meet.
there any
Go
like
ahead, yeah.
was there any like cruise patrons there that were just there to go on a cruise and weren't wrestling fans?
No,
Like,
I think most people knew what they signed up for. There were a lot of people that had been like at every one. So like Des, our commissioner and former champ, he's been on every single cruise. Like he knows what he's doing. He's been there every single time. So there were a lot of people I think that had been there since the beginning and gone to every cruise, and they kind of have a community where they kind of meet up once a year. So it was my first cruise. I've only gone to one. But everybody was super friendly. But yeah, everyone knew what they were there for sure. They were there for rock music and mostly wrestling. But yeah, I don't think there was any kind of random cruise people, like retired couples that didn't know why they're on that boat, right? So that was
yeah,
good.
like
Yeah, that would be bad. I think they would be very disappointed with how loud it was, especially in the evenings. So a lot of rock and roll happening. So yeah,
like I've seen like video from the cruise, like when I think they did an AEW show on one of them,
yeah,
and like it looked amazing. Like me personally, I would be afraid like to try and wrestle on a cruise ship, because like boats like sway
yeah,
and move
yeah.
in the water and stuff, and like if you're climbing up to the top rope and you're gonna do a moonsault or something, and
And woo,
suddenly
yeah,
yeah, like,
yeah, yeah.
but
We got
also like I'm sure that they probably have like to do the wrestling in during times in which the seas are not uh
yeah.
horribly choppy.
I think they try to pick their spots with it a bit for sure. Yeah, there was one day that was pretty rocky, and we didn't dock because of it. So, but they did put on extra matches, so they were able to make it work. So they kind of changed their schedule as we went the year that I went. So pretty cool to see. But yeah, a few people got seasick, so you have to kind of prepare for that if you've never been out to sea. But with the name Devin Shipwreck, I was all good. So I knew what I was doing. Yeah.
Did you try and make any networking opportunities while you were out there and be like, "Hi, I'm Devin Shipwreck, and I'd like to come wrestle for your federation." Like, did you talk to anybody like that?
Yeah, I got to actually get to know Justin Sider a little bit better on that boat cruise in particular.
Oh,
So,
solid.
he wrestler out of BC and promoter himself. So he was on the cruise, got to meet his wife. So that was really cool. Yeah, so there were a lot of like American kind of indie wrestling companies too that we kind of met and spoke with. The BRCW people out of Florida were on it as well. So they always throw an event right before the cruise, and those are the events that Dez and Noller Bear have already wrestled in. So yeah, lots of opportunities to kind of network and meet like-minded people that are part of that wrestling community, right? So it's really interesting to be on that boat and just have so many people that are passionate about wrestling kind of all jammed together in one spot. So the conversation flows really well. You break the ice pretty quickly when you all know that you're there for wrestling, right? So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've never had a vacation like that before, where it's just everybody's there for that one thing, right? So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I feel like it would be like akin to like going to WrestleMania or something where like WrestleMania is awesome and it's a thing to do, but there's also
Yeah.
like all kinds of other little like wrestling shows that are happening
Yes.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Like and just the amount of like I feel like if you went to WrestleMania or went to even one of the like smaller adjacent shows that was happening around the same time, like
Yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't be hard to strike up a conversation with somebody and just chit chat with them and whatnot and then I
Yeah, I'm
think
hoping
yeah.
I'm hoping next year with my work schedule I can actually go again. So I talked to my wife about it. She wants to maybe come with me this time. So we're gonna try to time it and see if we can go, because I've already forged some relationships with people. So it'd be nice to see them again. But yeah, the neat thing I guess compared to WrestleMania is that it's a number of days. I know WrestleMania is 2 days, but the cruise is longer, right? And so there's stuff happening like 24 hours, right?
How
Yeah.
long is the cruise?
So I think it's like 3 days in total. So it's a little bit longer, and there's like a lot more events going on, right? So and you're all in one spot, so there's no like you can't go anywhere, right? So there's the top deck, there's like the casino, there's like so many different things to do. There's comedy shows, there was interviews with wrestlers and podcasts like this happening. So like you could really pick something different to do every day. And if I talked to people that have been on multiple cruises and they said they still haven't really seen everything, right? So I'm definitely going to try to get back next year if possible. It was a lot of fun, and like you said, I'm a big wrestling fan, so I definitely got to get to a WrestleMania as well. I haven't been to WrestleMania yet, so Dez has been to a few, so I'm a little jealous of him there, and he's got the
Yeah,
tips.
I'm
Yeah,
starting to become real
yeah,
jealous of Dez here. He's been to
yeah,
WrestleMania, he's been on the Jericho cruise.
yeah.
I can't financially make those things happen. I like
It's pricey. Yeah, it's
yeah.
pricey. But yeah, Dez is a very well traveled promoter slash wrestler slash comedian. He's a multi talented person, and he's been all over. So if you are traveling, he's a good person to tap into for some tips on where to eat or where to go for sure.
So with Des having to be like a multi-talented person, and I know that he wears many hats for TAW. He's not just like a wrestler on the show. He's also
Yeah,
promoting the show and like lining up sponsors and
yeah.
doing all that very important stuff. Is that something you have to do as well? Like, or are you solely just wrestling on these shows now?
No, yeah, no. We all chip in for sure, right? So certainly like setting up the ring, making sure the ring gets to like a
Well,
community like a
that's
Clavic
like
or something.
setting up the ring
Yeah,
is part of
yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people have different mindsets on it. But me, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah,
like if you're on a show, you should help set up the ring.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all help out. Yeah, we all help out. I promote it on Instagram as well. I've done some promo videos kind of announcing. Dez is like one of our main announcers. And then we have Kenzie McDonald, who are like the two key announcers. So Dez does like the voiceovers for our shows too. So him and Kenzie are excellent at announcing, but I've done a couple of like just promos as well for like the YouTube channel and stuff. So that's really fun. That's the neat thing about a smaller company is, there's opportunities there. And like I said, Noller Bear and Blue and Dez have been so supportive of me being involved, and they keep just pushing me to do more, right? And I'm just like, it's you guys started this company, it's about you. You guys are born and raised, here in Inuvik and Tuxiedoxuck. It's really the company should be about you, and they're just so cooperative and welcoming that I feel like a big part of it too. And they keep just asking me to do more, so I'm really happy to help out. And whether it's do a little promo for the YouTube channel or referee a match or get into a match myself now, I'm just really honored to be part of Totally Arctic Wrestling, and it's been a really great experience. So I'm really grateful to the three of them to have me involved.
Do they get you to like show the ropes to like other new referees and stuff? Like I know you guys have a
Yeah.
school and stuff. Do you have like is there students like have you got it? Is it open to new students, people in Tuk to Yuk Tuk or the area that you guys are operating in? Like, is it open for new people to come and become a part of it?
Yeah, we've been promoting it and encouraging people to come. So we've had a few youth that have come and done some drills and done some things before after shows. Usually we keep the ring up for a little while and let the kids kind of run around and stuff. So definitely, Noel and Blue and Des are great role models too for the youth, and I think it's really neat for the youth and just the community in general to see something like this kind of come up organically and originally from here. It's pretty neat to see them kind of make this company out of nothing, really. It just, they're the ones that kind of made it happen, and working with Northwind have been able to do some really neat things. So I'm really proud of them. I think they're great role models, and yeah, they're always encouraging other people to get involved. And we have Steve Dagger, who's the other ref, so he loves helping out as well. He doesn't know wrestling as well as me, so he's often asking me questions and stuff. So I've been mentoring him a little bit, and we're learning together as we go, right? So it's been really fun. And then of course the wrestlers that come up on the card, like a Todd or a Cheeseburger, Marty Sugar originally, all those kind of people have come up and really contributed as well. So it's a really, really neat experience to be a part of it, and just to see how it's grown over the years. It started off really small, and everybody kind of knows about it now. And so when I travel around the region, I'll get asked about when is the next TAW show, and are you wrestling again, that kind of stuff, and starting to get recognized. Yeah,
I feel like it's got to be like the most northern wrestling company in the world. Like unless they're doing like
yeah,
indie wrestling in the north part of Russia or something that I'm just completely unaware of. Like,
yeah.
It must be like I can't think of another part of the world where there would be more northern than the Northwest Territories.
I think we're it, right? And we're right in the Arctic Circle as well. So we are the most northern wrestling company in the world as far as we know. So there's another company out there that's a little further north. I'm sure we would love to do a cross promotion with them. So until then, we are the top of the world. So if you're the northern champion here, the TAW heavyweight champion, then you're the champion of the top of the world. So right now that's Nolar Bear. Yeah.
There's also there's got to be benefits to the fact that you guys are like the only company up there, right? Like there's no like weird political nonsense. Like, well, if you work for TAW, you can't work for Arctic Extreme Wrestling. Like,
no,
there's none of that like nonsense where promoters are getting sooky at each other.
Yeah.
And
we're trying to get more people involved.
Hey man, I'm like me, I'm just like, yeah, I'll wrestle for whoever wants to pay me to wrestle.
That's right. That we're looking for more people to get involved, right? So that's why the core roster for a while was Blue, Nolar Bear, and of course Dez, right? The three of them. So that's why I wanted to step up so that there could be more storylines, some more matches, some different matchups, things like that, right? So I was happy to get involved in August and keep the storylines going fresh and try some different stuff. So I'm really excited, like I said, to wrestle Des again in Aklavik on the 23rd, and then the 24th, if I can retain, I have some ideas of who that match might be against, but we'll wait and see. We'll announce that the night of the 23rd, kind of the day of the 24th. But we want more people involved. So we would love to have some more female wrestlers as well. And until we, we're going to try to put on some clinics and get people involved. And until then, we'll keep bringing some wrestlers up from the South too, right, to keep it fresh.
Nice. Just speaking on some wrestlers and whatnot. Do you have like a dream opponent? Like, is Gangrel somebody that you would love to wrestle? Like, I honestly like I've met Gangrel at a number of like indie shows, and I think it'd be great to have a match with Gangrel. But is there anyone like that where you're like, oh, this is kind of like, I mean, you could say, oh yeah, I want to wrestle Triple H or Stone Cold Steve Austin if you want to, but I mean, like, do you have any like fair, like realistic dream matches that you'd like to be a part of?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. So many, really. Like a lot of wrestlers I admire. I mean, I mentioned Mikey Whipwreck, because he reminds me a little bit of myself, and that tenacity and to keep going. So that would be kind of a neat matchup if that was to happen. But
I'd like
you
to
know,
wrestle him too. I
yeah,
also
that'd be fun,
lost every match I was in for a very significant point period of time,
right?
and then
Yeah,
got a win, and everybody went crazy. It
that's
was fun.
right. Yeah, no, I don't know. Even just some of the guys that have been up that I've got to see up close as the referee, right? I'd love to get in there with Cheeseburger. He's so talented and quick and can do a lot of neat stuff. So I think him and I could put on a pretty good match. So Cheeseburger, if you're watching, this belt's up for grabs. So you might want to come back up. When he was up, this title wasn't around. So now that we've got a secondary title, there's more gold on the line if you come visit again, right? So Cheeseburger would be a dream match of mine for sure. That would be fun. Yeah.
Solid, man. Solid. Alrighty. Well, we have gone just nearly the entire hour here, so I'm gonna let you go. But I before I do that, do you have any social media or anything that you'd like to plug? Can you give us the TAW YouTube page off the top of your head?
Yeah, I can bring up the TAW YouTube channel, and I'm just Devin Shipwreck on Instagram.
Okay,
So you can
I've
just follow
lost the
me.
video of you.
Oh,
You're
sorry. Yeah, I was just bringing up the Totally Arctic Wrestling channel. If you just go on YouTube, you can just see Totally Arctic Wrestling. You can just type it in; it'll come up. It has a bit of numbers at the end. I'm not sure of off the top of my head, but
okay.
yeah, if you go onto YouTube, there's a whole bunch of great matches from Totally Arctic Wrestling right on the YouTube channel. And Totally Arctic Wrestling is also on Facebook and Instagram as well. So you can find us on there, and then you can find all the wrestlers and the talent from TAW on those social media pages as well. So you'll find Nolar Bear there, Dez, as well as Blue Wilder, and then myself, Devin Shipwreck. All four of us are on the Totally Arctic Wrestling Facebook page and Instagram pages too. So
Nice. Well, thank you very much for coming on here and chatting with me about wrestling and whatnot. Before we go, just give me one of just your very favorite story from your time in wrestling so far.
oh, my favorite story so far, I would say, that match in Tuck in particular that I mentioned. I think just seeing like two women just like put on a real banger and inspire the youth here was really neat to see. So that last show that we did in Tuck to Yuck Tuck was pretty special. I got to wrestle Justin Sider as well, and then I got to officiate the first ever women's match here at TAW. So that was pretty special. That's a pretty incredible evening, and so we're hoping to just keep doing more things like that and see if we can top ourselves as we keep moving forward into 2024 and then eventually 2025. So I would say that last show we did in Talk was pretty special. And then one thing that's pretty close, I would say, was the night before when I was in Inuvik, and I was able to retain the title against Dez when I did that bulldog off the top ropes. I rolled out of the ring when you see the video, and I'm just pretty beat up, as you can imagine. And as I got up, I was surrounded by all these kids. Like all the youth came and ran and mobbed me, and I had no idea that was going to happen. Obviously, that was very surprising. I was really humbled that the kids were so excited to see me win. So that was pretty neat moment to be surrounded by a bunch of youth, kind of living out my own childhood dream as a wrestler all of a sudden, right? So I was,
100%.
I stood up and there was just all these faces looking at me, right? It was pretty special. Yeah.
Kids are my absolute like favorite people to wrestle in front of because they're into it. They're always like I love to wrestle in front of children and drunk people. No, I seriously like I absolutely love wrestling in front of like kids because like yeah, they're into it. And like you literally all like if you're a bad guy, all you have to do is like turn and look at them and be like, don't eyeball me, kid. And then like suddenly they hate you and they're gonna let you know. And
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah,
I had
Dez is such a good heel up here. He gets the kids all against him pretty fast. He's pretty mean. So so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah.
I like you obviously like you've only been babyface so far, eh?
That's right. So far I'm just a baby face. So
Yeah.
hoping to
I
stay that way.
I wrestled last night and I was a heel because we did like 'cause it was a small out of town show and sometimes on those I get finagled into being the heel and I actually like I really enjoy doing heel work sometimes. I like
Yeah.
to be a babyface more just because, like, in my own personal mind, like, I like to do like cool stuff like Hurricane Ranas and
Yeah.
suicide dives and stuff. And I'm not saying you can't do that as a heel. I'm just saying that, like, it makes it harder to be a heel if you're doing that stuff, because like that's stuff that people want to cheer for. And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
like I like to do that, but every once in a while I do like to just be like a real bad guy. And like literally like last night when I was in Drumheller, like they were like, okay, go out there and do a mic, and I just grabbed the mic and did like 5 minutes of like, off the top of my head, just insulting people and insulting the town and
Yeah,
insulting the
yeah.
guy who was wrestling. And
Yeah.
it was a ton of fun. And
Yeah.
so
Heels are really cool these days, right? So I think it's almost harder to be a baby face in 2024, where all the heels are cool. You look at like Roman Reigns, someone like that. Everybody's, all the heels are cool these days. So,
yeah,
you
like
know, it's it. You know,
that's a fair observation to make, because like it can be very challenging if you are a babyface and you go out there and you're doing your shtick, but people just aren't biting.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
like, oh, this is just not working. Whereas if you're a heel
yeah,
and like it's not working, you just turn and say something mean, like,
yeah. That's
like,
it. Yeah,
I hate this town, or you're
yeah,
ugly, like,
yeah.
and then people are like, boo, we don't like
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
like,
No, I see it
yeah,
firsthand. Like Dez in real life is very popular. Everyone likes him. And we were at the show in Tuck, and he was walking around before the show, and everyone's saying hi. And I said, Dez, like, you're the heel. Everyone's so friendly with you. And so, but I mean, as soon as the mic is live and he's in front of that crowd, he's insulting the town. He's making fun of them,
yeah,
comparing a Nuvik to Tuck, like things like that, right? So he's able to turn it on pretty quick. So it shows you, like, obviously you got to be a good heel, but I think heels are a lot cooler these days, and baby faces are becoming a little cliche. So you really got to turn it on as a baby face. I think
yeah.
you got to put
It
on a
is
good match.
that's fair, because like that's definitely like that's one of the things where I even like I find myself like last night I was this major heel, and then like at the end of the show I'm just standing there by the door, and as people are leaving, oh, thank you for coming, I hope you enjoyed the
Yeah,
show, like.
yeah, exactly, right.
And then like I caught myself and I was like, what am I doing? Are they
Yeah,
supposed to, like, they're supposed to not like me because I'm coming back here in a month to wrestle again, and I'm going to be the bad guy then too. And
yeah,
but it
yeah.
is what it is.
It's
And
fun though,
like
right? It's a lot
I
of
think
fun.
people this day and age realize that it is a show, like,
Yes, yeah.
but also you don't want to kill the magic for them while you're at the show. You know what I
No,
mean?
no. I think it's fun to stay in character as much as you can. But when someone comes up to you and wants a photo or something afterwards, I think it's okay for a heel to take a photo or be friendly,
Yeah.
right? So
I'll jokingly
yeah,
be like, okay, yeah, you got $5. Like,
yeah, yeah.
and then
Pay for my
sometimes they'll
photo.
be like, yeah, here you go. And then at that point, you just take the $5 because why not?
You're a
But
heel. You're a heel.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, no, I hear where you're coming from. It can be hard sometimes to like maintain like being a heel when in reality, I just want people to like me.
Exactly, right. We all want to put on a good show either way, right? And you need both. You need a heel and a baby face to put on a good show. So someone's got to do it either way. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, folks, this has been Monday Night Shaw on Love Wrestling. I've been here with Devin Shipwreck from Totally Arctic Wrestling. If you have the opportunity, look up their Totally Arctic Wrestling on YouTube. It's a real homegrown, down home thing that they're doing up there, and I really appreciate it. So definitely give them a chance. Check their stuff out, and if you get an opportunity to ever see Devin Shipwreck on a show, tell him that you remember him being on Monday Night Shaw. Devin, thank you very much for coming and being a part of the show, and I hope our paths cross soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun, and I hope to see you come up to the Arctic Circle. Like I said, if I'm
I would
holding
love
on
to.
to this,
Yeah,
you
I
can
think
have a shot at
that
this too if you
I
want.
would.
Like, come
Yeah,
on up.
yeah. I think that would be tremendous. I would love to do that.
Awesome.
I'm very much like when I messaged Des about all these interviews and stuff. I was like, yeah, I'd like to get you guys on my podcast, and I'd very much like to come and wrestle there too, just
You
because
know it.
I think it would be super cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll hold
Yeah.
you to that. Like I said, we'll be
Alrighty.
here. So
Awesome, possum, buddy. Well, thank you again, and for everybody else, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.